What is going on, YouTube family? Welcome back to another episode of NAS100 analysis today. I hope you guys have had a good last week. Last week was a bit strange in terms of how market behaved, right? I'm going to talk a little bit about my trade and how it went down. If you watched last week's video, you definitely have a good idea as to how that trade went down. But if you haven't been watching, I'm going to explain it to you how that trade went down. So I hope you guys nonetheless have had a good week. All right, you've had a good last week in trading. Markets is going to be opening up in a few hours. Today is Sunday the 29th, right? So markets is going to be opening up in a few hours. And first off, I'm going to talk about the moves I made last week, how it panned out, and then I'm going to talk about what I'm looking for this week and how I may or may not play it. All right. So first things first. Last week around Monday, I saw an opportunity in the market and I took it. So this was it right here. I took the sell right here. Right. So I took the sell right here. And there were some moments where I got worried, right? And going by what transpired in the future, I was right to be worried. But obviously, nonetheless, I stayed with it. So what happened was, got in the sell over here. Market came all the way down. It was great. It looked fantastic. I loved it. And I thought, you know what? It's going to go lower. So I'm not going to bring in a trailing stop. I wish I did. There were plenty of times that I was thought to myself, you know what? Now be the perfect time to bring in the trading stop, at worst break even. But I didn't bring in a trading stop. So then what happened was, market went all the way back up again, back into the zone, right, where I manually closed out my trades, because literally I just said to myself, you know what, I'm not going to chance it with it going all the way up. So I'm just going to jump out and reassess the situation. So right now we're reassessing the situation in terms of how I'm going to moving forward, okay? And price is now in the zone that it may stay in or it may break above, okay? Now this is the zone in question right here. So this zone right here, well, I've just drawn out in gray, right? This is the zone we're talking about, and we can see price has visited it a few times. I don't know what I said there, but it definitely didn't sound right. So price came into it over here, 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 and we have it over here, and we have it going back as well. Okay, so we have a couple zones over here where price came into the zone, right? So looking at that, price is now in this particular zone, okay, and price could begin to break down from this level downwards, all right, downwards, and it could come back down to this zone over here, or it could come back down to this zone over here. It's one of the two, or it could even go even lower. But for that situation to happen, we're talking a good couple of days. So it could be, so we could get this move coming all the way down, right? And it could go into next week, okay? Now, there was going to be a couple of situations this week where price could do a number of volatile moves. There's a whole bunch of news coming out this week, okay? You may want to stay in the market for it. You may want to be out the market for it. Me, I've made a decision that there's one particular news that I'm probably going to be staying out of the market for, just because of how it's basically set up. I personally do not trust press conferences when these guys get on there and they start talking, because price can do anything and I don't like it. So based on that, I'm going to avoid the whole of the FOMC situation, which I believe is this Wednesday coming. So it's going to be from around 7 o'clock UK time. That's when that's going to be taking place. So I'm going to be aiming to avoid all of that. All right. So let's take a quick look at Forex Factory before I go into what's happening in this area. Right, so Forex Factory, I've done it up to 2 weeks, right? So this is the week that we're about to head into now, which is next week coming. So for the Monday, tomorrow, we have nothing going on. So chances are wherever movement price is in, it's going to continue in that direction, okay? Then on the Tuesday, we have the CB consumer confidence. We're going to get some updates on that. So let's just open up and just see what's the basic. So if it comes in greater than this number over here, then it's good for the currency, and then that's going to be reflected in the NAS. The NAS could obviously spike down a little bit and then continue on its journey upwards, right? Or it could do nothing, okay? Then we had the non-farm payroll, which is coming out on a Wednesday. And that day, the Wednesday, there's going to be a lot of things happening, right? So if you're going to be in the market, I would advise you exercise extreme caution when you're in there, because you've got the ADP, non-farm payroll, okay? You've got the PMI, we've got the jobs, and we've got the FOMC. Now the FOMC, if it's just the federal rate, if it's just the FOMC, just the standard FOMC report, that's not too much of a big deal. It's just a market reaction. But what has scared me the most in regards to the FOMC is the statement that they release, okay, which is one thing, and then the press conference, which is another, right? So because certain things happens when situations like that is going on, the statement and the press conference, I prefer to avoid the market. And then Thursday, there is no news. And then Friday, we have the average hourly earnings, right? Non-farm payroll and employment and unemployment rate. And then also we have the PMI. So my whole vibe for this Friday coming is, for this week coming is, I'm not enthusiastic to be in the markets just because there's major news coming out and it could really like mess it up. And this year so far, my experiences with the news hasn't been great, and I'm only speaking for myself here. So it's important that you guys take note of that. It could work out very differently for you. All right. And then next week, it could just be one set of news that come out, or we're waiting for all of these areas to be filled. So there's not really a lot going on from next week commencing the 6th of February, right? So going back here, Monday trajectory. So Monday, there's no news coming out tomorrow. So one or two things can happen. Price can start to dance around in this zone over here, okay? Or it may continue to push up, all right? Because there's no news, it could just keep going up, or it's just going to dance right in this zone. Now from Tuesday onwards, we should expect market to start doing things. I don't know what market is going to do, but we should start to expect market to do things. There's a couple things that I'm waiting for to help me assess what I believe market is going to be doing, and that is where it's resting before the news arrives, okay? So for example, over here, this blue line you're seeing up here, okay, this is the daily high of the previous levels that I've put together. So in my mind, I'm thinking the price would go to that zone or close to it before it decides to do anything. That particular zone I'm talking about is 12,419.24. All right, so that's where I think it could go to. I'm not saying it is going to go there, because first off, like I always say, I'm not a financial advisor and I'm not giving you financial advice. You have to do the homework, and it all has to make sense to you before you take a position in the market. If you do so and it goes wrong, and you're using the information in this video without doing your homework, putting blind faith into myself, pips and points there, and it all goes wrong, it is your fault, because I've done the work. So when it goes wrong for me, I'll understand how I went wrong. If you just copy what I'm doing without doing the work yourself, which I encourage all of you to do the work yourself, many of you on this channel know how to do the work. So I definitely give a big shout out to all of you for putting in the time, sweat and tears and all the emotional roller coaster that we have to go through just to get anywhere of above average, just to get anywhere to the level of an above average trader, which is what we all are, right? Most of us here, because I'm definitely above average trader, okay? And I know many of you guys are, but there's some of you that are not, and they just take the signal, it goes wrong, and then they start getting upset, and I'm like, well, how are you going to copy someone's work, and then the person you copy got it wrong, and then you get it wrong, and then you're mad you got it wrong? You didn't do the work. You know what I mean? It's your fault. Right, so okay, so with that, right, this is what I'm saying. So first, let's wait to see what price does between market opening tonight and tomorrow. That's what I'm going to be doing. I'm just going to be waiting, right? If price is consolidating at this level, then I'm definitely going to be waiting, right? If price then pushes up to this level, then once again, I'm going to be waiting. Once I see that price is beginning to pull back down again, okay, then I may decide to do something, or I may just sit on the fence. Why I may decide to do nothing is because I would want price to break below this level right here, which according to the MACD on the hour is considered a low. This level right here where the cursor's at, okay? So this area right here is considered a low. And the level I'm talking about is 11,961.94. Okay, so that level, I would need price to break below that. And then if it pushes back up again, then I'll be aiming to lock in a position to the downside if it does that. Okay, right? And I may go in, I may not. Oh, and another thing I'm going to be stop doing as well is talking about where I actually go into the trade. So before I talk about the trades that I've made, I would have been in it, profited, and got out. So everything is past tense, and then I will explain it. If I'm actively in a trade, I will not be talking about it in all future videos. It just makes no sense to do so unless I've set up a membership area, at which point I would then give full disclosure. But at this stage, it makes no sense to do it from the experience that I've noticed so far, based on what the YouTube analytics has been telling me in regards to user interaction on this channel. So I'm going to be holding that information back, but this is what I'll be waiting for anyways. I'll be waiting for that to go underneath. Once price goes, so let me just get my thingamajig. So once price, I should say, go below, right, I will want price to pull back up. If it pulls back up to say this level hypothetically, I would wait to see once it starts pulling back down again, and then I will consider joining it, and I will actively be using a trailing stop. So it may do something like this once it reaches this zone over here, okay? Or most importantly, it doesn't go to the zone, it comes back to this level again. That will be a lot stronger signal for me to take the sell, supposing to it being up here, because all that would have happened is I have a lower high in comparison to this high over here, and I have a higher low down here, which all indicates an uptrend, right? So I would either want this to actually, it's broken that, so that's cool. So I would either want this to be over here, or if it's up here, then I may continue to wait and see what it does until it actually breaks something, until it actually properly breaks a structure. Then I will consider actually joining it again. All right. So with all of that covered, guys, I think I've pretty much covered how I plan to move in the markets based on what conditions appear and how they appear. Okay. If you find this video useful, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, drop us a quick like, which costs you absolutely nothing, and leave us a comment as to where you're watching, or if you have a much better analysis and you're happy to share it with me, I'm happy to hear it, okay? And if you find the content super useful, or you just really want to support the channel, you like what it is that I do and you want to support the channel, just give me a super thanks, okay? Drop me a quick super thanks, that would be greatly appreciated. That will go towards the support of this channel, and also most importantly, I'll most likely be using the funds from that to subscribe, which is obviously the all paid services, to some of these specialist websites where they're able to give a really in-depth look at the fundamentals, and in doing so I would then bring it to your attention if you're not inclined to obviously to be reading fundamental data in the way that I like reading fundamental data, because I actually do enjoy reading, not reading random stuff, but reading financial stuff. So financial news, financial reports, financial textbooks. I like things like that. I'm not into science fiction and all the rest of it. I don't read those books at all. I have no time for it. There is no knowledge in there for me, and we live in the real world, not fantasy, and I don't want to be entertained. If I want that, I've got Netflix to help me with all of that, right? So, well, I did have Netflix to help me with all of that. That's gone now, right? So, so with all of that covered, my beautiful people from all around the world, I want to thank you for coming over to watch another episode of NAS100 analysis today. Thank you for your support, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video, which will be very soon. So for now, this is Pips and Points signing out.